In over 2 centuries of American science, not a single dinosaur bone has ever been found in the state of New York, and the reason why is far stranger than you might think. On a map of North America's dinosaur discoveries, a sharp divide appears. West of the Mississippi, the land is dotted with fossil sites, with thousands of bones cataloged from Montana, Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming. The Paleobiology database lists over 3,000 confirmed dinosaur specimens from 35 states, but nearly 70% of those come from the western interior. In the east, the story is different. States like New York, Vermont, Ohio, and Kentucky remain almost entirely blank. New York, with its deep scientific history and world-class museums, has not produced a single confirmed dinosaur bone. The contrast is so stark it almost looks like a mistake, a statistical void in one of the most explored regions of the country. This pattern is not just a quirk of where scientists have looked. It traces back to a time when North America itself was split in two. Around 100 million years ago, during the mid-Cretaceous, a vast inland sea began to open. The western interior seaway stretched from the Gulf of Mexico to the Arctic, dividing the continent into two separate land masses, Laramida to the west and Appalachia to the east. For nearly 30 million years, this shallow sea was hundreds of kilometers wide and up to 500 meters deep at its peak. The seaway's eastern shoreline swept across what is now the Great Plains, pushing the edge of Appalachia eastward, away from the richest zones of dinosaur fossil preservation. On Laramida, the land that would become the American West, river floodplains and deltas built up thick layers of sediment. These environments buried dinosaur bones quickly, locking them away for the ages. In Appalachia, the ancient heart of the East, conditions were less forgiving. Lower sedimentation rates, a patchwork of forests and swamps, and long stretches of coastal plain meant that bones were less likely to be preserved. The seaway itself favored marine life, not the giant reptiles roaming the land. Over time, much of the evidence that dinosaurs once inhabited the East was either never preserved or was later erased by geological forces. The map tells a story of abundance and absence, but it also hints at a deeper cause. The western interior seaway was not just a barrier, it was a dividing line that shaped the fate of fossils across the continent. New York's blank spot is not a sign that dinosaurs never lived there, but the first clue in a much older, more complicated puzzle. The story of New York's missing dinosaurs is written not only in what is present, but in what is gone. When dinosaurs roamed the ancient landmass called Appalachia, the ground beneath their feet was a patchwork of swampy floodplains, sluggish rivers, and dense forests. Unlike the Great Western basins where thick layers of sand and mud quickly buried bones, Appalachia's surface saw only thin blankets of sediment. Slow burial left bones exposed to scavengers, decay, and the ceaseless work of water. Even when bones did find their way into mud or silt, the next chapter was rarely in their favor. Over tens of millions of years, the land that would become New York was not a quiet resting place. Instead, it was shaped by powerful forces of uplift and relentless erosion. The Appalachian Mountains, once towering above the landscape, gradually wore down. Rivers carved away at the surface, carrying sediment and any bones they might have held eastward toward the sea. The gentle floodplains of the Cretaceous gave way to a landscape in motion, where any fossil-bearing rock that might have formed was steadily stripped away. By the time the Cenozoic era dawned, much of the evidence from the age of dinosaurs had already been erased. The final blow came in the most recent chapter of geological time. Starting around 2.5 million years ago, the Laurentide ice sheet advanced and retreated across the region, its frozen mass sometimes more than a mile thick. As the ice moved, it scraped and scoured the landscape, grinding down bedrock, bulldozing hills, and depositing thick layers of glacial till. Any remaining pockets of Mesozoic sediment, already rare, were either swept away or buried deep beneath debris. Today, the surface geology of New York is a palimpsest, layers overwritten by ancient seas, mountain building, and glacial ice, leaving only fragments of the past and almost no trace of the world the dinosaurs once knew. What remains is a record shaped more by loss than by preservation. The odds of finding a dinosaur bone in New York have been whittled down by slow burial, relentless erosion, and the icy grip of the Pleistocene. The rocks that could have held the story of Appalachia's dinosaurs are mostly gone, erased by time and the forces that continue to shape the land. Beneath the forests and cities of New York, the surface tells a silent story. Most of the bedrock exposed across the state is far too old for dinosaurs. Ancient metamorphic rocks like schist and gneiss shaped by heat and pressure long before the first dinosaur ever walked the earth. In places where sedimentary layers do appear, they are usually marine shales and sandstones from the Paleozoic era, hundreds of millions of years older than the Mesozoic world dinosaurs inhabited. The rocks that could have cradled dinosaur bones, those from the late Triassic, Jurassic, or Cretaceous, are nearly absent at the surface, erased by time, weather, and the grinding force of glaciers. Yet in 1972, a quiet shoreline along the Hudson River offered a rare glimpse into that lost world. Paul Olson, a teenager with an eye for fossils, was walking the eroded banks of Nyack Beach State Park when he noticed a line of three-toed impressions pressed into the reddish sandstone. The prints, 5 to 6 inches long, formed a trail across the exposed rock. Experts would later identify them as growliter footprints, left by small, agile theropods about 210 million years ago during the late Triassic. These tracks were preserved in the Passaic Formation, a sequence of ancient river and lake sediments that escaped the deep burial and destruction suffered by most of New York's rocks. No bones accompanied the tracks, only these delicate footprints fossilized in a fleeting moment of mud and sun. The Nyack Beach discovery stands as the most direct evidence that dinosaurs once moved through this region. It is a reminder that, even where the rocks seem silent, the land still holds echoes of vanished life, waiting for a careful observer to notice what remains. A single set of footprints, pressed into ancient mud and preserved for over 200 million years, offers a fleeting glimpse of New York's dinosaur past. The Nyack Beach tracks are more than a curiosity. They are the closest the state comes to a direct link with its prehistoric inhabitants. But the absence of bones and the silence in the rock record cannot be explained by geology alone. Human decisions have played their part in deepening the divide between East and West. In the late 1800s, American paleontology entered its most fevered chapter. Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope, two rival scientists, began a race that would become known as the Bone Wars. Their competition was not just about discovery, it was about staking claims, building reputations, and filling museum halls with spectacular fossils. Marsh and Cope dispatched teams into the wilds of Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, where thick beds of Jurassic and Cretaceous rock lay exposed. The West, with its open landscapes and abundant finds, quickly became the focus of nearly all serious fossil hunting. Between 1872 and 1892, these Western expeditions produced 142 described dinosaur species. In the same 20-year span, the entire eastern United States saw 5 or fewer dedicated digs and almost no new species. Funding, field crews, and scientific attention followed the richest bone fields, leaving places like New York with little more than footprints in the sand. The result is a fossil record shaped as much by human ambition as by ancient seas and glaciers, a story where the missing bones reflect not just what nature preserved, but where science chose to look. New York's silent bedrock holds no dinosaur bones, but not because giants never walked here. Instead, deep time and shifting earth have hidden their traces beyond reach. Even now, our map of ancient life is shaped as much by absence as by discovery. In science, mystery is its own evidence.